Had a little bit of a lull compared to our earlier meetings this spring, and I'm seeing things that indicate we're going to have some busy agendas coming up. So tonight is another relatively light agenda. Let me just share what is going to be on tonight's agenda. Just as a reminder, this meeting is being recorded on YouTube and is held remotely via Zoom. We are still following the Wayne County's public health orders and executive act to COVID-19 precautions. So we are holding this meeting remotely. To participate, you can raise your virtual hand, use the chat function, or dial *9. And as a brief overview of tonight's agenda, we have an update on the Camping World project, which was recently given final site plan approval in December 2020 by the Planning Commission. There have been some changes requested by the applicant that prompt the Planning Commission to review this project again. So myself and a couple of our other reviewing staff will give some updates on this. And the applicant tonight is actually going to be requesting to postpone their action on the amendment until a later meeting, which I'll describe in my comments. We also have the Coletta Air site plan, which is on the Willow Run Airport site. And that is going to be something that the Planning Commission has reviewed a few of these types of site plans is more of an advisory capacity, because these site plan reviews are handled administratively by staff and by the Wayne County Airport Authority. They actually don't get approved or denied by the Planning Commission here in the township, but we still try to give the Planning Commission an update on what's going on. So with that agenda in mind, I'll turn this over to our chair, Carol Thompson.
Thanks, Director Powers. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Charter Township of Van Buren Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, June 9th of 2021. We'll start with a roll call, please. Ms. Harmon?
Medina Atchison.
Here.
Sherry Budd.
Here.
Brian Kelly.
Here.
Brian Cullen.
Here.
Jeff Jar. Carol Thompson.
Here. Thank you. We have an agenda before us. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Commissioner Kelly, support Commissioner Cullen. Any discussion? And a roll call vote, please.
Sherry Budd.
Yes.
Medina Atchison.
Yes.
Brian Kelly.
Yes.
Brian Cullen.
Yes.
Carol Thompson.
Yes. All right, agenda is approved. We also have minutes from our regular meeting of May 26th of 2021. Is there a motion to approve the minute?
Through the chair, I make a motion we approve the minutes as presented.
Commissioner Budd, support.
Support.
Commissioner Atchison. Any discussion? And roll call vote, please.
Brian Cullen.
Yes.
Brian Kelly.
Yes.
Medina Atchison.
Yes.
Sherry Budd.
Yes.
Carol Thompson.
Yes. All right. Agenda minutes approved. We'll move on to our new business. The first item is Camping World, a preliminary and final site plan amendment approval. The applicant, Derek Matter of Camping World, is seeking amended preliminary and final site plan approval to amend a previously approved final site plan by renovating their existing building in place of demolishing a portion of the building and reducing the proposed size of a redevelopment RV parking and storage area on the site. The site is located at 43646 North Interstate Service Drive. It is tax parcel number 8306101000101, and it is on the north side of I-94 North Service Drive. That's between DeWitt and Morton Taylor Roads. We'll start first with the presentation by Director Power.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to just reorient everybody to the site. I'll show one image really quickly, and then I'll show the updated site plan. So the Planning Commission may recall the Camping World site is here on the North Service Drive. You have National RV here to the west, and there's a strip commercial center to the east, and then a couple of different apartment complexes farther east. This is a project that was underway for over a year before the Planning Commission granted final site plan approval in December of 2020. The project involved full site renovation for the Camping World site, and the project involved taking out a roughly 15,300 600 square foot wing of the eastern end of the building to make room for expanded RV sales area. And so as part of that review, there was a special land use that was approved by the Township Planning Commission as well as the Township Board. And there was like I said, the final site plan review in December of 2020. In the subsequent months, the project underwent the early phases of construction. And if you were to drive by the site today, you would see that there's a lot of earthwork already occurring there. There is underground stormwater detention being built and some significant improvements already being made. But for various reasons that I think the applicant will be prepared to discuss at an upcoming meeting, they have decided to stay with the building as is to allow for some expanded uses inside of the building involving RV service uses and moving around some of the floor space to allow more defined uses for RV service and the addition of a paint booth. And they've also opted to take out to remove the removal, so to keep the wing of the building in place, which removes about 26 RV parking spaces on the east end of the site. This is ultimately going to have different impacts depending on the lens we're viewing it through. It's overall something that from a planning standpoint, the township is certainly willing to look at and facilitate through the planning review process. It does, however, pose some questions and issues from more of an engineering and fire protection standpoint. And so I'm going to, before I get too far down those comments, just like to share the current proposed rendering of the site plan. And then I'm not sure if this is going to translate well, but you can see are you now looking at the smaller building footprint on your screen?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so that's working on my screen share. So you can see the current proposal. There's some addition, some moving around of the RV sales spaces on the west end of the site. And then you lose about 26 RV parking spaces on the east end, and allows for some expansion of the uses inside of the building. They're also removing some of the tanks that are out in the auxiliary tanks that are in the parking lot. And the RV parking is significantly reduced. From a planning standpoint, we have a report from Vidya Christian, our principal planner, regarding this change. There's relatively minor adjustments and conditions that need to be clarified regarding the planning aspect of this. From the engineering aspect, there are also some comments, but you have a recommendation in your report regarding engineering, and Stephen Clayton is here to speak to those. From a fire safety standpoint, there are some issues regarding this project that are prompting additional discussion. And those relate to access to the hydrants on the site. There are a couple of hydrants that are at the corners of the site that have a gate separating the access to them from the parking lot right now. So with the building footprint remaining as it is, with limited sprinkling inside the building, the access to hydrants and the flow from the existing hydrants on the site become some significant questions that the fire department has. There's also some ongoing study of the fire suppression needs inside the building, as well as some comments, some renewed comments about the turning ability of the largest fire trucks on the site. With the building now being expanded to the east, there's less maneuverability of the largest 48-foot ladder truck. And so for those reasons, and these are discussions that have been occurring relatively recently, is actually very recently as this morning, the applicant has decided to postpone their request for a final action on this until a later meeting date, probably as soon as June 23rd, once they review some of these additional items with the fire department further. But in the meantime, we also feel that it's important to have the Planning Commission have an opportunity to look at this change. There is a bit of a holding pattern with the site, aspects of the site that would be affected by this change, with the site, of course, under construction. So we thought it was important for the Planning Commission to understand the scope of change that's going to be occurring as soon as possible, but I want to make sure that you have all the data you need to make a decision point at the same time. So while we want to give you an update and we feel comfortable giving the planning and engineering comments tonight, we're going to ask for a deferral of the fire department's comments and more of an extensive description by the applicant to a later date. And that's probably going to be either the June 23rd meeting or the first meeting in July. And so with that, I'm glad to look at anything else that's in our packet, but ultimately, if the fire department comments are met and in supporting the principal planners and township engineers comments, staff will be comfortable with this change, assuming that some of these other comments are addressed. So we'd like to present this, and I'll start with a description of the updated planning report from our principal planner, Vidya Krishnan.
Thank you, Director Power. I think that was pretty thorough a summary of the change. So I will keep my comments brief just to give the Planning Commission an overview of this project. Camping World was approved by the Planning Commission on December 9th of 2020. At the time, they had proposed demolishing about 15,600 square feet of the building and keeping the remaining 28,139 square feet. Subsequently, as Director Power mentioned, their needs changed and they decided they're going to keep the whole building, which is just under 44,000 square feet in size. In the area that is now going to be retained, it will be remodeled to become a body shop repair with service bays. They will also be adding a paint booth to that area. The entire building will get new LED lighting. The HVAC service will be updated and the service bays will also be upgraded to Camping World's new standards. The storm sewer design will also be modified to now accommodate the fact that the whole building is going to stand and not just 28,000 square feet of it. And the previous sanitary dump station and washout and the propane tank, if the Planning Commission recollects, we discussed that and screening around it in detail, that is no longer going to be on the plan. The site is zoned C2 Extensive Highway Business District. The applicant has previously received special exception approval from the Planning Commission and Township Board of Trustees. All of the items with regard to access and circulation, parking remain the same. The concern with regard to the fire trucks maneuvering around the site is something the applicant will have to address with the fire chief. There may be certain restrictions placed around the building and the circulation drives for fire safety reasons. All of the items regarding landscaping are the same, with the exception of one item, which is the amount of contiguous outdoor landscaping area required. Now, the applicant does note on the calculations that they have 2,501 square feet. We are just not clear what is being included in order to make up this 2,501. So they just need to provide clarification in that regard. Now, their storm sewer detention calculations will also have to be redone to Wayne County and the township engineer standards. Since the amount of impervious surface on the site is essentially being unchanged, the building is going to remain where parking was shown. I don't think it should make a significant difference. However, I will defer to the township engineer. We did make a comment that the existing Camping World building was a little dated, and the applicant had proposed repainting all the existing EIFS and adding a blue band across the front for the portion they were retaining. We wanted them to continue that upgrade for the remaining portion that they're also planning to retain. I believe the applicant sent a colored rendering to Director Power this morning, showing how the whole building is going to look. And maybe Dan, you could share that. We believe what is being proposed is acceptable. It is the same as what the Planning Commission previously approved for the portion that was to remain, and now the design is going to continue. All other elements regarding dumpster, fencing, signage is going to remain the same. So because there are issues with regard to fire suppression at this time, we are going to hold off on making a recommendation of final site plan approval for this project. Although at this time, we really have no concerns, except for the fact that we want to show how the 2,501 square foot of outdoor open space landscaping is being provided. Subject to that being corrected and any fire issues and engineering issues being addressed, we would have no problem supporting this project for amended site plan approval. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Ms. Krishnan. Good review. I'd like to go now to Fishbeck's review before we take questions and comments. And Mr. Clayton, can you walk us through the engineering review?
Thank you, members of the board. I will be reading from Fishbeck letter dated June 4th, 2021. We also, for the Camping World Engineering Final Site Plan Review for the addendum, we are recommending approval of the engineering and final site plan. We have no objection to moving forward. We note that the plans has been mentioned before, no longer include demolition of a portion of the existing building or the construction of a propane filling station, nor does it include the construction of a water service and sanitary sewer leads for the dumping and filling station. There's also some modifications to the existing storm sewer system at the point of connection from the existing on-site storm sewer system to the proposed storm sewer system. And with that, we had just a few comments. Again, these plans were dated May 4th, 2021. They were previously approved in the December 9th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. So just have a couple comments. There was a couple of call outs for the sanitary sewer lead and other proposed improvements on sheet C 3A that are no longer applicable, should be removed. The site summary information on sheet C1, including the building footprint, should be updated. For the water main service, again, we just want to highlight the change that the plans no longer include the copper water service from the building to the proposed RV parking lot filling station. We only had a couple of comments, and these were kind of as covered by Director Powers, that with the existing building now in place, the existing fire hydrant locations are not within the standard distance. This coverage requirement can be waived with fire department approval. Also, depending on fire department comments, as was mentioned, there may be a need for an access gate to the hydrant, the two hydrants on site, through the proposed fence. The sanitary sewer with the addendum changes, the plans no longer include the 4-inch sanitary sewer lead connecting the RV lot parking lot dumping station with the existing 8-inch public sanitary sewer pipe. We had no comments on that. For this storm sewer, as I mentioned previously, there was revisions to the tie-in from the existing on-site to the proposed near the southeast corner of the existing building, which included maintaining the length of storm sewer south of the catch basin 5 and a couple of proposed manholes. We want to note that the existing total square footage of the impervious area will remain the same. As previously, proposed pavement will be replaced with the roof, equally impervious roof. And so the overall calculations will remain the same. We had just a couple of comments on those. The applicant must fix the hatching on sheet C2 for the existing 24-inch storm sewer, currently being shown as maintained and tying into manhole 4. The plans also have a label for a tap into an existing catch basin 4 on the profile on sheet C4B, which should be removed. It is also understood the applicant has provided information. These were approved previously from Wayne County DPS on October 28th, 2020. We would ask that they would update or they would contact and verify that no permit revision is required, and also that they would update the maintenance agreement figure on the plans for the Wayne County Maintenance Agreement. But again, we have no, we were recommending approval for the Camping World project for engineering and final site plan. If you have, I'd be happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton. So Planning Commission, questions or comments for engineers, planners, staff? Anyone? Nobody. Okay, let's see if anyone in the audience has questions or comments. Anyone?
Madam Chair, I don't see any questions about this project from anyone in the audience. There's a question about the next project on the agenda. If I could steal this opportunity to just mention that with respect to the elevations, I'll have updated note on this for the next meeting where we discuss this, but the applicant has clarified that they will be sticking to the style of the elevation that they used previously. However, the blue stripe on the eastern edge of this building will be removed to the extent that they're going to leave a canopy up in that portion of the building that's remaining where that would conflict. So I'll try to get a complete, I will get a complete updated elevation to share when this comes back.
Okay, great. So if there are no questions or comments, ready to end this agenda item. The decision on their request for a final site plan approval is delayed at the applicant's request. We expect to hear back more from both the applicant and the fire department the next time this comes to us. Is that correct? Okay. I'm going to move on. Okay, yeah, got it. Okay, thanks. All right, I'm going to move on to the next agenda item, which is Coletta Air LLC. Staff will provide an update on a proposed site plan for a 25,430 square foot building with 3 flight simulators, office and training spaces, along with parking and related site improvements. The proposed building will be 3 stories and 44 feet 10 inches tall with a total floor area of 55,241 square feet. The location is 50206 Tyler Road Extension. The tax parcel ID number 8318999000800, and the property is located on the north side of the Tyler Road Extension near the border with Ypsilanti Township. And Director Powers, will come back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about another project at the airport. I actually have a representative of this project on a call, not in the Zoom window. So if we need to ask questions, we can go that route and ask Mr. Peter Better, who's the applicant for the project. As with other recent projects at the Willow Run Airport, the township has worked over the years to develop a predictable process for projects at the airport, where the primary authority for site plan review is going to be the Wayne County Airport Authority. That's how it is at the main Metro Airport, DTW, and that's how it is here as well. At the same time, the Willow Run Airport respects the local ability we have to make sure that there's a high quality project at the airport sites. And so this is one of a series of recent projects that we're reviewing under that process. The project, and I'll bring up the map again for this one. Let me just zoom in here. I apologize for my technical gap here, but let me get this up on the screen. So Coletta Air has a large facility here, almost to the Ypsilanti Township border, near the end of the Tyler Road extension, which is effectively the southern service drive of the Willow Run Airport. This project is going to involve a significant expansion to their facilities. Just to the west of this office and training building, there will be another building that's just over 25,000 square feet with about 55,000 square foot of floor area. So it's a 3-floor building, almost 4 stories tall, excuse me, almost 45 feet tall, with 3 flight simulators, 2 briefing rooms, 6 classrooms, training centers, and other storage and office space. So it's a significant expansion to Coletta's capacity. And Coletta does cargo freight as well as charter flights. And it's already a significant presence in the township with about 147,000 square feet of existing space in their different facilities here. And so the process that we use to review projects at the airport involves reviewing certain aspects of zoning. We review the setbacks of these projects in relation to the main roads, which are E-Course and Beck Road. We review parking. We review if the project is adjacent to one of those main roads. We review landscaping in detail. And we review certain environmental performance measures such as the noise and to the extent we can review noise, the screening of waste receptacles and other various things. But we don't get into the full details of the zoning ordinance. With the project, we have worked with the applicant over the course of several months to review their proposal. And I have a few comments on what they've provided, which you have also in your packet. Let me see if I can pull up the site plan at this point. Just one moment here. So I'm putting this up on the screen as a for reference site plan. I apologize, it's running a little bit slowly. Okay. All right, thank you for your patience. Let me get this up on the screen. So you can see the footprint of the existing building. It will connect to the existing, the existing facility will connect to the proposed facility. And there'll be parking basically in 3 different areas around the proposed building. Through the course of this review, I have reviewed some of the items that I discussed with respect to off-street parking. The applicant has provided a detailed narrative explaining how their parking demand is not necessarily as it would be in a site that's not on the airport. They have different flows of people coming to the site, shared trips to the site, and of course some of the people coming there come by flying to the site. So there's a detailed narrative of the different staffing and use of the facility. They proposed a net gain of they proposed 62 parking spaces, and with about half of their building being occupied by these large flight simulators, and then the other roughly half of the building being office space floor area. That looks like a reasonable standard. It's just a little bit of an unusual standard to review where we don't have similar scenarios on non-airport sites. So I will be giving a final review of the parking proposed. Related to parking, I'm also requesting that the parking spaces are double striped, which they're noted as on the plan, but we would need to see the double striping on the plan as well. I'm looking at getting a good picture of the existing leased parcels. There are about 18 acres of leased land between the different Coletta sites. So I'm just looking to get an updated picture of the existing conditions with those parcels shown. And then there's just some comments about the final review authority we need to just make sure we get all the required permits from the Wayne County Airport Authority, who of course reviews the site plan, as well as the Wayne County Department of Public Services, who reviews stormwater and soil erosion on the airport site. And there's some regional stormwater efforts being done on the airport site that kind of tie some of the different projects together. So the applicants are working with Wayne County to know how their project ties in with that. There are some local engineering standards that apply as well with respect to the connection to the township's water system. There is some of the utility connection goes to the Ypsilanti system, but then some also goes to the Van Buren system. So we'll be giving a final review of a tap permit application. So that will also need to be done before construction. But all in all, this is a favorable project. I do have Peter Better here on speaker. I'd be glad to take any questions, and we could also, I'll go ahead and unmute him. We could also take questions and report back at a later meeting with some more information. So I'm glad to field any questions you have.
Great, thanks, Director Powers. Thanks, Mr. Badler, for being on the call. Questions or comments from the commission first, please. Anyone? Director Power, we have someone in the audience or some peoples in the audience who have comments on this agenda item.
We do. We have a comment from Stephen Dark. There's a comment about noticing that the project has an Ypsilanti address on the site plan because that's, you might notice throughout the township, sometimes the addresses are designated as Belleville more commonly when you're in the township, but there's also some cases where the addressing system goes to Ypsilanti. But Mr. Dark says, is there any way it could be given a Van Buren address instead? I'd love to see Van Buren get more acknowledgement for this project along with other projects that will run rather than Ypsilanti. That's a really important point because.
Well, here's the reason, Ben.
And I have
It's the mailing address. It's the mailing address.
So you might hear Mr. Better here on the call. He's mentioning that is the mailing address.
So the building has actually 3 numbers. It has a building number that's a Willow Run number. It has the address you gave it, the 50206 Tyler Road extension. But Coletta's actual mailing address is through Ypsilanti, and that's how it was set up decades ago.
Now, did everybody hear that?
Yes, I think we've got it, that there are the same property, same building, but different address depending on the function, whether it's a parcel identification or a mailing address, right?
That's right.
Okay.
That is an important comment that I've heard before, though, that if we can bring acknowledgement of all the good work that's being done on the Van Buren Township side of the airport, we should. So maybe Mr. Better, there's an opportunity to just clarify on the site plan set that this project is part of the Willow Run Airport of Van Buren Township or on within Van Buren Township. That might be just another way to give some acknowledgement. But yes,
okay.
the addressing system is very complex at the airport. There's primarily one large real parcel, and then there's a lot of leased parcels within that have their own addressing system. So it gets a little complicated with building permitting, but it's something that we're working through with each project.
But also understand it's a leased property from the airport. It's not an actual owned parcel by Coletta. It's a leased. So when the buildings are built, there's a 20 or 30-year lease at that point. And then once Coletta leaves, the airport inherits it. The same thing with Delta at Metro Airport. The 747 hangars, when they built that, it ended up going back to Wayne County. Well, actually, Northwest built it. It went back to Wayne County once Northwest dissolved and it became Delta. Just to give you a little history.
All right.
Great, that's interesting. how that works.
Yeah, it's extremely hard for me, just like the truckers, when I give them the address of 50206 Tyler Road extension, they can't find it. They end up on Tyler Road in Ypsilanti or somewhere else. So it's kind of hard,
Understood.
but
So that's something we're working on with, we use the addressing system that we have, but we'll try to help make things as clear as possible. So that summarizes my comments. The plans are available. I'm glad to share any other information. I know your packets didn't have a full set of plans, but I'm glad to share those, and I'll try to get a version of those up on our map of development projects as well for more information. So feel free to ask me any other questions about this project or any other airport project.
That'd be great. Thanks, Director Power. So anyone else, questions or comments on this agenda item? All right, hearing none. We will move to general discussion and updates. Anyone have items for general discussion tonight? Yeah.
I can just,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, just mention we will have a meeting on June 23rd. It's shaping up to be a more traditional meeting with probably at least one, probably two temporary land use requests, as well as site review actions. So I'll look forward to seeing you then.
Great. If there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved to adjourn.
Thanks, Commissioner Cullen. Support?
Support.
Commissioner Kelly. And all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Good discussion, good input.
Good night.
Have a nice
Thank
evening.
you.